But if you're saying that you want to marry black men, then you have to listen to our input. And just like we don't agree with everything that we got to do with women, we don't agree with all the burden that we have to take. We don't agree with having to raise other people's kids. And the fact of the matter is that 61% of black men are middle class and have no children. So if that's the case, you're trying to force these men to not have any input or hold what they have achieved and what they earn valuable the same way that you hold sex in your life and the things that you achieve valuable. So to me, I applaud Kevin for trying to raise men to the same level of importance in women's mind as women are in men's mind.
You're listening to the Bean Pie Chronicles podcast. So kick off your leather socks and unpin your head wrap. The Bean Pie Chronicles is now on the air.
1 2 1 2. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We're back. A new episode of Bean Pie Chronicles. Today is Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. Whether you're a single mother or, whatever the case may be. God bless, and I hope you have a wonderful day. We just coming out of Ramadan. We just celebrated Eid not too long ago. We have Dr. Riyadh with us today, and the brother Fahim. They just dropped a new Black Star album, so it makes only more sense me and Fahim link back up in tribute to the Black Star movement reunited joint. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
What up, fellas? Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
This meeting was convened to discuss the passing of the brother Kevin Samuels. For those, I'm sure that those that don't know, the brother was very controversial. Let's say controversial, African American black manosphere, social media influencer, and and he recently passed out of left field. Surprising, people are surprised by this court of God, and there's a lot of opinions out there as to he had there's people that either loved him or hated him apparently, and he was a very divisive individual, partially because he dealt with issues as it pertains to black women and ideas of class and race and values, and it's just a hot button issue, and that's basically where he was at. So I said let's get together and talk about this situation here. Fahim, I know Fahim. You sort of, in my opinion, you really championed some of the causes and some of the positions that the brother took. What's your thoughts on this situation?
I was shocked. Very, very shocked. And, sad, still, kind of in amazement with his passing. But, Allah knows best. Allah, from Allah, we came to Allah, we shall return,
Right.
So, but I definitely was a supporter of Kevin Samuels. I was on his channel, following his work since like late 2020, and I'm just in a loss for words. But just to give props to the brother in terms of the topics that he brought up. For me, it was not necessarily like a shot in the arm, but it was just like, talking points that I heard before, being in the Fruit of Islam as a part of the Nation of Islam in our men's classes. So a lot of like manhood training type stuff, in some instances was being, reiterated through the talking points of Kevin Samuels. Um, so I identify with some of that stuff, and just looking back at relationships that I've had with sisters in the past, um, you know, it definitely put a mirror to my own life in terms of my own personal experiences dealing with the opposite sex. So um, yeah, it definitely was. And for a lot of people, if you could read the comments on his channel and also the channels of supporters, there are people who are saying that he changed their life, you know, both men and women, that he changed their lives. So, um, what he meant to not just the content creation space, but also what's called the manosphere. I mean, he's considered like now, he's like the patron saint now. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah, he's considered like the patron saint now. Like all the majority of people that's like in the manosphere, particularly the black manosphere, like he's like the G, the OG. And there are people been out longer than him, but he kind of like hit pay dirt over these past 2 years and like just blew up by being consistent on his message. Obviously, his message and his delivery and his tone of his message was definitely, one of concern for some people. But
Um,
still, it definitely, it ruffled feathers, but,
in a sentence, what would you say that message was?
I think the message was for men to be high value men, um, and for women who are looking for high value men, they have to be, high value women. But it wasn't, but how he typified high value women and high value men is basically traditional roles: men being providers and protectors, and women being, fit, feminine, friendly, and cooperative. Yeah.
We are. What did you have any particular insight or sentiment in regards to the work that he did, and what Kevin Samuels sort of represented in this whole conversation, black men and what have you?
Right. So I I haven't watched Kevin Samuels recently. Most of the time I haven't watched the full episode. And the reason why I haven't watched the full episode in years is because he switched to women. And in America, that's a very sticky subject, and it's just too. Um, well, let me just say this: what I appreciate about Kevin Samuels, and it's one of those ancillary things that not many people pick up on. What I appreciate about him, and I watched Kevin when he was talking to us, to black men. That's when I watched him. Once he switched his message, then it just wasn't for me. But
Interesting.
what I what I appreciated about him and what's the ancillary benefit of what he did, and I hope more brothers pick up on this, is that regardless of whether people appreciate your message or not, stand on your square. Say who you are, present it to the world, stand on your square. I don't care if it's 100 million feminists coming at your throat. If it's who you are to the core, stand on your square. And more men need to get to the point, especially black men. More black men need to get to the point that um, that we don't uh, that we don't placate women because we're chasing sex. And the other thing is that we don't care. Like, I don't care if you take me off my square. I don't care what your opinion is. If you're trying to enhance me as I stay on my square, then I appreciate and I value your opinion, and I'm gonna seek your input as to what I do daily, especially if you're my woman and I'm responsible for you to God. Your opinion means uh, is probably more important to me than anyone else's opinion. So even though it's crazy, the women that don't like Kevin Samuels are the one that were always sending me things that he said or something, and I watch a clip or two, or I watch a few minutes of it. But it's a very it's the re, the reaction to his critique and criticism is something that is extremely expected, especially in this modern society, and the roles that traditional people that view themselves as victims, now they're what's the best word? They're almost extremists in defending themselves to the point that critique and criticism is insult and injury.
Mm.
So, so that's a discussion. To me, that's immature. That to me, that's like having a deep intellectual conversation with my children. It's just not gonna happen.
Right.
You do what I say while you in my house. When you turn 18, if you don't want to do what I say, then go live your life the way that you want to live it. I'm not gonna bother you. But whether you 33, when you come back inside my house, these are the rules. And
Right.
so that's the conversation that's happening right now with these with this group of women, because ultimately they're saying that they want to be married. So if that's the case, and you're dealing with if these women are saying that we want to marry each other, so they're lesbian relationships, then you have all the input that you want to have. I don't. I'm not judging nobody. I don't care. That's between you and God. But if you're saying that you want to marry black men, then you have to listen to our input. And just like we don't agree with everything that we got to do with women, we don't agree with all the burden that we have to take. We don't agree with having to raise other people's kids. And the fact of the matter is that 61% of black men are middle class and have no children. So if that's the case, you're trying to force these men to not have any input or hold what they have achieved and what they earn valuable the same way that you hold sex in your life and the things that you achieve valuable. So to me, I applaud Kevin for trying to raise men to the same level of importance in women's mind as women are in men's mind. But
Interesting.
I feel like that conversation for the vast majority of black women right now is it's a muka it's a Sheikh Abdul Rahman. May Allah be pleased with him. He passed away last year. He told me probably about 6, 7 years ago. We were in the masjid and I was studying with him. He told me he pulled up this hadith, and I'm not gonna go through the hadith, but basically what the hadith was saying was basically even if you're telling people truth, if they're not ready to hear it, it ends up being a detriment. So you have to leave them in their space until they can um, have the conversation in a critical manner. And so I think right now black women aren't in a headspace that you can have this critical conversation. Most of them, I don't think you can. I think some of them really appreciate it. But so the way that I see it, um, and I say this very, I'm not saying this with 100% emphasis, but I feel that um, though Kevin Samuels was saying things that the majority of us black men agree with, I think that it's it could be a matter of what Sheikh Abdul Rahman was talking about. Too much truth at a time that they're not ready to accept the truth. So it ends up being detrimental to the point that when he died, literally black women write articles and saying the most vile things about a man that's died when they're saying that they need to be protected, but no one is thinking about protecting his daughter, who's a black female. So protect and spare the black female who's his daughter, her feelings, her emotions, her she's having to listen to these black, but it doesn't matter because the information was too powerful. It was pure coke. It wasn't cut. It wasn't re-rock. It was pure 100% cocaine, and they couldn't handle it. So
So
that's my 2 cents.
you know that saying, that hadith, that the Sheikh read. Elijah Muhammad said, the truth out of season is no truth at all. And that's a similar sentiment. So it seems as though, so a lot of people did not know that Kevin Samuels started off coaching men, right? So
Right.
he was a style coach and he was a lifestyle coach speaking to black men. So
Yes.
his I don't know, Fahim, are you familiar with his work back then? Like Riyad, you said you listened to him back then. If his conversations were with, and his intention was to uh, uh, bring style and ideas of style to black men. So did he have that same type of confrontational discourse with black men, or was it a brotherly conversation, or was it a conflict based conversation like his early works?
Well, I mean, from what I remember, it was kind of like a combination of both, really. You know, definitely brotherly conversation, but he definitely, he went hard at some dudes. You know what I'm saying? In terms of, like we got to step up as men, as brothers. You know what I'm saying? And he was always pushing that envelope, and that's what I was also appreciative of as well. You know what I'm saying? Like just straight talk. I mean, because unfortunately, a lot of young men, as well as older brothers our age, but we don't never really had like fathers or uncles that like was like talk straight. You know what I'm saying, to us. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And this was in the digital space. He was like the digital uncle. You know what I'm saying? For a lot of men. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo,
Right.
you want this? This is what you got to do. There's no shortcuts. I mean, one of my favorite quotes he said was, "You don't gotta walk on water, black man. You just gotta walk." You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Things like that, one-liners like that. That's what your father would say. That's what your would say, or older brother would say. You know what I'm saying? And he filled the void in this digital space for a lot of men. You know what I'm saying? To um, not just voice their frustrations, but their concerns, but also have aspirations like, yo, I can be better. You know what I'm saying? And um, be in a space where steel can sharpen steel. And those 2 to 3 years before prior to his blow up, yeah, he definitely had brotherly as well as coming with the sword for your head type conversations with men.
So I know Riyadh, you said that you listened to him at that point, and then once he switched to the women, you felt that that conversation was no longer for you at that stage of his development.
Well, it was a conversation not for me because fortunately I was one of the people who learned from my mistakes and learned how to choose a proper mate. Um, but it was mistakes made, you
Right.
know. But I'm a just my educational background, my science background, follow the data. So once I get a good indication of the data, then thank God that I'm able to learn that way or learn from other people's mistakes. But it was a combination of this conversation really isn't for me, but it was also a a factor was I see where this is headed, and um, it's a train wreck that I turned away from. I think it was I think what Kevin did was he was the martyr,
Mm.
and I feel like in the near future there'll be other people that'll take this message to the black community, and inshallah, God willing, it'll be beneficial. But it was definitely, in my opinion, a situation where he was bashing people over the head with the truth that aren't ready to accept it, because you can go to the club and listen to throat babies, but Kevin Samuels is the one that insults you and makes you feel like abused. That's when you have that dichotomy that I'm gonna dance a jig and twerk and shake my ass in clothing that is showing my ass, to literally the nastiest song, most filthiest song I ever heard in my life, Throat Babies. That's the song that is acceptable to you. But Kevin Samuels telling you, hey, look, you don't have to try to be a high value woman, but don't demean a middle class, man that's not high value. That's your status level. And if you don't accept him, guess what? You're gonna die alone. That's
Right.
the general message.
Right.
Like not, you don't have to be an overachiever. Same thing with men. You don't have to be a high value man, but stop talking about the woman that's 20 pounds overweight, that
Yes.
work at Dollar General store. That's your level. You're not bringing her up. Y'all are meeting each other on the same level, and then hopefully you can stay on the same level or build each other up. So that message, to to a mentally mature, rational individual that's not totally self-absorbed and self-centered, that's an easy message to intake. That's an easy message to understand. Like, oh, okay, he's not down to me for just being a 5, 6, just being average. He's not down to me. He's just saying that if not 80% of women are saying that they want this is what you have to do to have this type of man.
Right.
Right.
But that man is bringing you up a notch. So a man that's on your level, you're not settling for him. Y'all are equal.
Right.
So be
Right.
equally yoked.
Equally
As the
yoked.
Christians say, be equally yoked.
Right.
Right.
Um, but I just know at this point in black women's paradigm, that was the message that I was like, oh, this ain't gonna go over well for
This ain't going
years.
to end well.
It,
So
it, it's not gonna go over well for years.
so
But
so
but every movement needs a martyr,
right.
or every movement needs a bad guy. So you for instance, if you want to keep it Islam, you have the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
So.
but then you got Khalid ibn Walid and you got
Right.
So every movement needs a monster, and for black women, as strange as it is for a very couth, very articulate, older, mature gentleman to be the monster, that's who he is to black women. But that message is gonna have to resonate, and because eventually they're gonna marry themselves and marry outside the race, and then black men aren't gonna have no other choice but to marry outside the race.
Now,
It
do you think that like as far as his message and the time that we're in, because we're in a society where people quote unquote are free, but the way that the people who control the environment, control the society is through like social engineering, through TV, through marketing, through propaganda, essentially, in the form of news and entertainment. So at this time, the black woman is being set up on this. You got the Kamala Harris, you got the new Supreme Court justice. These black women marrying white men, and so that idea that the aspirational black woman, like we can do anything at this point in time, and so there's a lot of that in the air, just for the common black woman. So that idea is being sold to the black woman. So his ideas, so his sort of like attack on that delusion, in a sense, is sort of was at this particular time in history is sort of like you said, a train wreck waiting to happen.
Yeah. I mean, you hit it on the nail on the head, Idris. The delusion. Because like, yeah, it's black girl magic season. It's been that way for like I would say the past 5-10 years.
Right.
And so they will come with statistics like the black women are opening up are businesses are becoming entrepreneurs, and he'll retort, yeah, and most of those businesses are run by one person. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're not impacting industry. You know what I'm saying? The most of these business startups. You know what I'm saying? And so, also the statistic about black women, majority of college graduates, and he will have another statistical retort for that. You know what I'm saying? So he basically was knocking down the entitlement that has been engendered with a lot of women, and particularly with a lot of our sisters. And that didn't, go over well because I've been, taught to believe I'm superwoman. You know what I'm saying? That I can not only do it all, but I can have it all. You know what I'm saying? So Kevin Samuels was like, nah. You know what I'm saying? If you want to have it all, this is what you have to do. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Especially if you want to have it all, if it includes having a mate. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, for a lot of, for many sisters, in terms of their ideas of what a mate is or what a man is, it's basically someone who's like a servant. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? A servant to their whims and wishes, not somebody who's a leader. You know what I'm saying? So, and this is what he was challenged. Like, what do you want in terms of, like, are we just tools? You know what I'm saying? Or are we human? Do we bleed? You know what I'm saying? So he was really trying to get people to and get women to rethink, what it is what is a man, and
Right,
also what is a black man in this space.
right. Because it seems to me like the black men are losing value in this sort of like a delusional reality. So I think that a lot of black men championed or felt somewhat validated or vindicated with some of the points and pushback that Kevin. So he became sort of like this access point between the tension of black men and black women. You know,
Yeah,
and I don't know if that's like Riyadh, like how you were saying, like that may not be where you started out as, but you know, I guess as when you're doing content creation and you find a lane, and that lane, as dangerous it might be, is still a gold mine. You see that you hit pay dirt, and now you either gonna take advantage of this opportunity and stay in this lane and, like you say, tough it out and go viral. I mean, isn't that what also social media content creators are trying to find this sweet spot?
Absolutely. So this is where my critique of Kevin Samuels comes in. And and it so when you create content, you want to be paid. Okay. So it began a point that it became more lucrative. And I'm not upset. I would have made the same decision possibly. It became more lucrative for him to um, hone in on that aspect of it, but it was almost like a fluke that it happened. And my critique of him is that if I were in that position, my stance, and you know this for the most part, I don't care what a woman thinks is not my woman, especially one that espouses those type of white feminist type views. So I don't. You're not. Do whatever you want to do. Be happy. But this is what I can guarantee you. If more brothers had, like, for me, I like Kevin from the beginning because it was like he was empowering and teaching confidence, as
right.
opposed to he was teaching swag. He was teaching you how to uh, not care. Like, I don't care what this woman thinks. I have zero, whether it's Kamala Harris. When I look at somebody like Kamala Harris, the first thing I think is a real brother never stepped to her. You know,
Yeah,
like like that's just the bottom line. Because I feel like I can pull any woman that I put my time and energy into, and I don't have to be a simp either. And so part of the reason why we feel pressure as men is because we ain't being taught not to simp. And we're not being taught that let it go. She don't want to be there, let it go. My life ain't changing one bit. Matter of fact, my life will probably get better because it's less burden. And the next step is a better woman, making a better decision, being more insightful, being more impactful in the way that I communicate. Because ultimately, again, this is one of the things that I did like that Kevin talked about. Is ultimately I'm responsible. If you Christian, if you Muslim, if you Jewish, if you Sabian, I'm responsible.
right.
So a woman is not gonna have to stand before God and be responsible for you. She's gonna have to be responsible for the decisions she made for herself concerning you. You're gonna have to be responsible for her. Everything that your daughters and your wife, you're responsible for her. So if that's the case, ultimately, I'm the decision maker. I'm in the driving seat. Now Islam balances that because you got to give, women have rights over you, and there's a certain expectation. But to actually like it doesn't bother me that you have this group of black women saying this stuff about black men. It doesn't bother me the swirlers, the all these successful, and it's not just black women, it's women of color, all of them, even down to the Muslim sister that divorced her Muslim husband and married the Jewish guy. I can't think of the name. The other governor, senator. Well, I mean the senator. She might be a representative. Uh, Ileana,
Right.
whatever. I can't think of her name.
Close the door.
Yeah,
I know you're
Ileana
talking
Omar.
about. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Ileana Omar. She divorced her husband and married a white Jewish guy. So I promise you that doesn't bother me
Right.
because over the course of her lifetime, she dealt with corny black men because we're raising corny black men. And so Kevin was on that first. He wasn't getting too many views. You know, I get it. But that's what he was on first. You corny.
Right.
Raise your confidence.
Right.
This is what you need to do. Dress better. Speak better.
Right.
Get certification. Get education. Do what you got to do to upgrade yourself and have confidence in yourself. Because the women are come. So when I see women that behave in this manner, that make the choices they make, I'm just like, okay, well, I can't be mad at her because she got with a whole bunch of corny dudes.
Right.
I could have a stable of 4 Kamala Harris if I wanted to have some.
Right.
That's just how I feel. And so this is what I feel like. And so that's my critique of Kevin, or that's my disappointment. Because I feel like it has to be two-sided. We can't just say all good stuff about him. My disappointment with Kevin Samuels, excuse me, was that he didn't stay in that lane. But I'm an entrepreneur. I believe in entrepreneurism over martyrdom. So he made a good financial choice, and it was a message that needs to be out there. But black women just want to be placated to. They just want to be told that they're perfect and everything they do is right, and they have no accountability.
So you saw from the beginning, once he switched over, that, like you said earlier, his message was not timely. In the sense that it might have been timely because the truth is always timely, but at the same time, the overwhelming society's push is in the opposite direction.
Right. Well, I felt like at this time he made a money decision.
Right.
And I'm never mad at nobody for making a money decision. My disappointment, though, is that he made that money decision. And so, because I feel like he was doing more to fix the problem when he was dealing with black men. Because ultimately, you have some simp that's cheerleading this tomfoolery.
Right.
And they're doing it because they're beta males, they're weak, or they're doing it because they're just trying to get sex. But either way, they're simping these females. And so the more black men that are like us is like, oh, go do your thing. Go ahead. Bye. You don't affect me. You're not, once you make that decision, then you're not in my realm of protection, or I know that we're on different paths. So regardless of if we're skinfolk, we ain't kinfolk.
Right.
I don't wish nothing bad happened to you, but you ain't my responsibility. You Billy, Tommy, Tim's, Yashua, whoever, you're their responsibility now. So you're in their tribe, and you deal with them, and you deal with those issues and problems that come up. But over here, which is why a lot of Muslim sisters that ain't married to a black man, they're African American sisters, they're black sisters, and they're not married to black male Muslims. You ain't my concern. Go deal with the Ethiopian delegation. Go deal with the Senegalese delegate. You ain't my problem. I wish we would. I wish Kevin kind of would have stuck to that conversation, but I'm happy he got paid. I'm happy he was able. If he was gonna die in that 3-year time, I'm happy he was able to set his daughter up.
Yeah.
I'm not mad about money grabs because he didn't make a. I appreciate the fact that he didn't make a punk decision. He
Right.
made his decision. He made an economic decision, and we live in a capitalist society. So more power to him.
So
Yeah, he was multi-million.
Yeah.
so Fahim, I mean, do you feel like the message? Because I think you have less of an issue with the fact that he might have ruffled some people's feathers, and because I think you feel like that path that he went down was just as valuable or just as necessary as the path that he initially started on. Like, women need to hear these things, or this delusion or this bubble needed to be popped.
Yeah, I mean, I do, and for the simple fact that you get to see, and also again for young men, you get to see what the market looks like. Like this is what is look. This is what's out here. You know what I'm saying? These women are letting you know who they are. You know what I'm saying? So as you are on your path, you have basically a palette to look at. Okay, these are definitely the women I don't want to deal with. You know what I'm saying? As I'm beginning, to be on my purpose. You know what I'm saying? And really, if you're on your purpose, you really don't want to be dealing with women anyway. To be honest with you, you
Right,
know what I'm saying? So until you complete your mission, inshallah, you know
right,
what I mean? So, um, but I get a sense that it's like social media and the YouTube content creation space. It basically it's showing women at their worst. You know
right,
what I'm saying? And it's like I think that part is necessary. You know what I'm saying? Because I definitely did agree with Doc. You know what I'm saying? That as men, like yo, yeah, you're not my problem. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. But at the same time, for somebody who may not be Muslim, who's not, who is dating, and who's heard, messages from Kevin Samuels about being high value and stepping up your game and find your purpose. But I still like these females. You know what I'm saying? All right, so what's the marketplace like? You know what I'm saying? And you get the sense, through his interactions with the women that will call up on the show, also on Instagram, you know, just women that just are like some thirst trap stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
right.
yo, as a man who's striving to be a high value man, young or old, you be like, yo, man, these are not the females I want to be around with. I want to deal with. So, you know, definitely, I like the fact that they're telling on themselves. To be honest with you,
Right.
I like that fact.
Right. Now, as a father, my sons, they love Kevin Samuels, They like, oh, he's the GOAT. And I have to caution them a little bit, right? Because I did, when I would peek in on him from time to time, I seen him, he did promote for men to carry themselves a certain way, basically add value to yourself. So I talk to my kids about that as well all the time about, you have to qualify yourself in order to be a valuable or asset. But you got to be an asset to yourself and invest in yourself. But then I saw him again as an older man, 50s in his 56 or something like that, not married. He had a track record, I guess, of some failed marriages, and even though those things are, that's life. It happens to everybody. But if I always felt like if you want to be a marriage consultant or a relationship consultant, at least be successful at that. So I saw him presenting somewhat of a Playboy's kind of lifestyle, like where you get dressed and you get your nice glasses and get your hair cut and speak, learn to articulate yourself properly. Then you could have all the women you want to. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And it seemed like that's the reality that he was living. Apparently he died after having a situation with some woman he one night stand, or some woman he hooked up with, and
right.
in his Dr. Boyce Watkins made a point of I like his analysis of the situation, because he said um, uh, uh, Kevin Samuels would often tell a woman, like, you're gonna die alone if you keep this mindset. And he's like, essentially he kind of died alone. If you die in the presence of some, one night stand woman, that's not a good way to go, ideally. And so I have to tell my sons, because like we all Muslims, that one of the things that, if I had to take something away from him, he wasn't, as far as the standards that he was promoting, I agreed with them as they related to men. But
Right.
then beyond that, he kind of didn't, from our standard, as a Muslim, you have a higher standard, I would say. And so he didn't meet those standards, And so I had to, like, sort of like temper their enthusiasm about this guy and his messages, because we have a higher standard of operation, and when you see him blowing some women up, like my sons who don't really have a background in the world, trying to date women, so to speak, I felt like it might have, like you said, showing these women exposing themselves in this way may have jaded them as to what type of women are out there. Like, I don't, I haven't been in the dating field for quite a while. Like, is it these women that he had these episodes with? Like, how typical of black women? How typical are these women?
Oh, as somebody who's out there, very typical, brother. It's very, very typical. It's always, obviously, I'm embellishing a bit, you know what I'm saying? But there's, as there's good men, there are good women, you know what I'm saying? So, but in my experience, it's definitely, definitely typical. But to go on to your point about, the higher standard, it definitely is important, particularly for, as Muslims, we do have the high standard, the Quran and Sunnah. And, you definitely don't want to be jaded as well in terms of perspective, perspective being married, for those of us who are single. Um, Yet, you know, feminism is real, and its impact on women across all races in America is definitely real. And also, you see that in the Muslim community amongst some of our sisters, not all, but with some of our sisters and their line of thinking. You even have terms like Muslim feminists, which is oxymoronic. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But so it's like it's definitely. I like your approach, Idris, in terms of warning your sons. Just give them some guidance in terms of like, okay, that may be true, but and this is also something I have discussions with brothers. As a Kevin Samuel supporter, I always say like, it's only so far I can go because I'm Muslim. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
um, so that is the standard bearer. So, but to his credit, he did have a platform where he helped people get married. The current lawyer that's representing his family and his mother, I think the brother Dennis Sperling is his attorney for his estate. He helped him find his wife. You know what I'm saying? And he's helped other like high value men and women be married, like within, because he had a separate paid platform for those who wanted to get counseling to find a
Yeah.
partner, if you
Right.
will. And and he had he championed a lot of success through that platform. And the attorney to date for his estate was one of those people that he helped find a wife. So even with the average at best type videos, to his credit, he did champion black family. He did champion black marriage. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely have to give him credit for that. So, but those are not the type of excerpts and snippets that we see. We see him going railing on sisters with the bonnets and all that other stuff. But he was definitely about family and marriage. But to your point, you know they're definitely also at the same time flaunted a bachelor lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So kind of got to weigh the good and the bad. So I definitely agree with your point.
Right.
Definitely agree with your point.
Riyadh, you're the economist. And a lot of his talk was about value. High valued people saying six figure. This is 6 figure, man. And I think even from an Islamic standpoint, we would have to temper that idea of what is a high valued man. Because I think they were talking pretty much economically.
Right.
Wasn't not necessarily a character quality man, not necessarily, a high value man is not necessarily a high quality man. If you're talking about religious standpoint or God consciousness or these type of things. But he was really dealing with the economics of it all, so to speak. And it seemed to me like, for me, it was always it was more about a class thing. Maybe these women with the bonnet happens to also own a business, and now she's coming up. She's so she now feels like she's ready to leave the average Joe who she might have 2 or 3 children with. And now she done hit a lick, and you found her lane economically. Now she's ready to move on, and he was just basically saying, uh, your baggage matters. So I'm saying, in this idea, this discussion of value and what a high value man, like, what do you feel of as far as that conversation? Is it a conversation that has merit in society, or is this, just some idea that he made up?
Yeah, no. So to Kevin's credit, everything he did was based off of real statistical data. It was based
Hmm.
off of factual data. So him coining the term high value is basically a putting a nice package on what women value and what they want. So we can't discount that. So although we may say character and those things are important, that's not what was on the top of women's list when you poll them statistically. um, the amount of money, and those type of things is what women value. So when he's saying high value man, he's saying these are the things that attract women the most and the things that they're looking for the most, according to them.
Mm.
So because of that, you don't want to have to say a whole paragraph describing what you're talking about. So we're just putting a, a package. This is what women value, and this is what a high value man is. The high is the bow, the value is the actual package that you're packaging it up with. So it's just putting a bow and package around this idea of we polled a bunch of women, and these are independent studies, and this is what women value. So if you want to be so money is one, two, and three on that list.
Mm.
The amount of money or the amount of comfort that you can bring her so that she can be less responsible for her day-to-day provisions. So
Mm.
the more you can make her less responsible for her day-to-day provisions, and then by extension her children, then the higher value you have according to women. So I think it's very pertinent. And um, I think in terms of trying to put a bow and a package around these 20 statistical data points of what women value, I think I can't think of a better way to put it. I think the reason why men sometimes, in particular, feel funny about it is because we don't meet those standards that women say they want. Um, and women feel funny about it because they know deep down in their heart, regardless of how much you fuss, regardless of your feminist echo chamber, you ain't gonna get that man.
Mm.
That's just the bottom line. That man don't want you.
Mm.
You can't. It's when you start talking about high value men, you're talking about every accomplished woman with a nice body and a decent attitude. That's who you're competing against. And
Hmm.
then you're competing against decent looking women with nice bodies and money and great attitudes. And then you're competing against ugly women with and then once you get through all the women with great personality stuff, now you're dealing with the ratchets. Now you're dealing with the get. All of them want this high value man, and it's only that's only 1% of the male population.
Right.
So how do you coin that term? Because it's not just about money, but if that's what women value, then you have to coin that type of term so that we have an understanding of what Kevin is talking about. So I personally like the term high value because it should spark a conversation amongst men about how do I achieve being high value, which is what Kevin talked about first. But to me, that should also be an indicator to uh, people that don't fit this statistical category, according to what women want, has nothing to do with you personally. Like you don't have to achieve that. That's the
Right.
biggest thing, Kevin. You don't have to be a high value man, according to what women want. And I keep having to say that because there's too many sensitive dudes out there. According to what women want, you don't have to be a high value man. Just look for the five and the sixes, the fours, the fives, and the sixes. That's what you're gonna get. Look for the underachievers. Look for the women that may not have great jobs, or they may have a great job and have a business, but now they got five, six kids by two, three different dudes. That's your lane.
Right.
That you need to. You're not marrying down because you're taking care of this woman's kids per se. If you're not high value or trying to achieve high value status, so um, I wouldn't know what else to how to coin that idea, how to package it so that you can have a discussion without having to go through 20 data points of data about why this is a high value.
Mm.
So I think it was just a package. That's all it was. It and it's not a negative package. That's the other
Right.
thing. It wasn't a negative. There's only a negative connotation for men that want they want the benefit of being high value without actually being high value.
Right.
To me, to me, that's no different than women that want the benefit of being considered a classy, cooperative, feminine type woman when they're not. You know, you want a high value man when you're low budget, bad attitude, argue, don't take care of your kids, all that type of stuff. But you want the value of this high value man. So it's the same. It's the same coin, different side.
I mean, it's very interesting because it seems like, you know, with things like economics and things like high divorce rates and things like the battle of the sexes and all these different things that are plaguing our society, it seems like he was basically trying to bring people's expectations down to earth so that when they do step out, they can step out with themselves grounded on some kind of reality and then have their expectations grounded in some kind of reality. You would
Well,
think that that would be healthy.
I think the biggest issue that women had with it was he talked to women the way that men talk to each other. That is straight
Right.
up. He didn't have the filter. He didn't placate to their emotional feelings of whatever. You can't talk to me that way. He talked to women who say they want equality and they say they want honesty. He talked to them the way men talk to each other. Just a straight up and down conversation. I don't know how many times two dudes can be having a conversation, be like, "Nigga, you bullshit." Excuse
Yeah, yeah, do you?
me. Stop a lot. Keep forgiving me.
I mean, we here, we all
Oh
we
yeah, we
grown,
the
man.
bean pipe
Yeah,
channel,
yeah,
brother.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We could do that.
You know, but yeah, so bleep that one out. But no, so yeah, just we have straight up conversations. Even we critique each other to the point like a brother can come to you and be like, "Oh man, my wife this, my wife that, she getting on my nerves." You be like, "Brother, what you talking about? Man,
That's
you
Right,
right.
lying. You been with me for a week straight. You ain't been home in I don't know how long. You barely there. What you think she gonna? You know what I'm saying? Like these
right,
are the type of conversations that men have, and women say they want honesty, but they really don't. What they want is for you to tell them what they want to hear.
right.
Right.
And so, and women, feminists get mad when you say that, but then when you talk like Kevin Samuels, like, hey, look, this is what most of men think.
Mm.
Besides, so this is why I want us to get to the point. I don't care. I don't care what you think. And honestly, if I really tried to get you, I could get you. But if you feel like you didn't choose me, I'm cool with that. Go
Right.
live your life. Be happy. Go swirl and make all the happiness that you can create. I promise you, I'm not thinking about you. I'm not. My kids ain't thinking about you. My woman ain't thinking about you. My mama ain't thinking about you. And the fact that you even exist is not even in my realm of thinking. Like I don't care. You're less There's less burden that I'm responsible for. So and just like Redman said, I'll be that. Whatever. Okay.
Mm.
I'll be that. Whatever. So you gone now. you know.
Mm.
And I wish we would get to that point. And I think that's what Kevin Samuels was pushing us to. Um, I don't disagree that women need to hear this message. I I don't disagree. I just feel that had Kevin prepared more, had Kevin helped, or had Kevin did another year or two of just
Mm-hmm.
dealing with black men, and that I don't care what you think attitude. Like, bye. If you here with me and you on my team, I'm gonna take care of you to the best of my ability and make sure that you happy. You're gonna be supported. Whatever it is that you need, I'm gonna do what I gotta do to make sure you get it. By hook or crook. Because this is America, so you gotta do some crook stuff. You know, everything ain't straight up and down honest. And that's another issue that Muslims have when they get on that super religious stuff, but it's a whole nother thing. But by hook or crook, I'm gonna make sure my daughters, my wife, my mother, that you got it. Whatever it is, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna do everything in my power to make it happen with the least amount of damage to society. If you don't want that, bye. I'm not looking back.
Mm.
I don't look in my rearview mirror
Mm.
when it comes to a woman not choosing me, or when it comes to a woman belittling me, or when it comes to a woman trying to put me in a trick bag or make me a simp. I'm not looking in my rearview mirror. I'm not arguing with you. And you
Right.
probably know that I have such a disdain for you because at that point it's just getting you away from me and out my system. Go do your thing. Bye. Kick rocks.
Mm.
Right.
And I might just for the heck of it have another wife tomorrow. I might go to the marriage and get me another wife tomorrow
Mm.
and
Mm.
make
Right.
sure that marriage lasts until I die. But that's just my mentality, and that's where I want brothers to get to. That's why I think Kevin was pushing us, and then that money he had that one interview with the sister, and next thing you know he I'm not mad at him for making that money decision. That's all I can say. But women don't want to hear. They just want to be comfortable in every aspect of their life, and that includes being critiqued. I'm not comfortable when I'm critiqued, so don't critique me.
Well, I mean, I think some of the argument is that I've heard this exact statement several times that the black woman is the most unprotected woman. I think Malcolm might even somebody said it and everybody's saying it
Yeah.
at this point. So it's like I dare you to add any more pressure, even if that pressure is based in truth. You know, we not here for that at this point in time. And it's like the black man all of a sudden becomes the pariah.
Mm.
So not only is the black woman not protected by you, I dare you to turn around and now want to flash some light in my face and tell me some harsh realities. You know, what do you
Yeah,
say
but
about
I,
that, Fahim?
I gotta push back on that. The black woman's, because Malcolm is the one who said that.
Malcolm said that, right?
Yeah, Malcolm said that, and that has context and nuance around that. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly. Glad you
when
bringing
I
this
have,
up.
yeah, so when women say that, so I always say, so do you what about our history are you familiar with of black men in organizations or in businesses? Like, so black men did nothing in our sojourn here in America. All those freedmen towns founded by black men in the 1800s and the early 1900s. You know what I'm saying? Trying to establish, community. You know what I'm saying? All those organizations. So like we did nothing. We died for nothing. We went to war for nothing. Served in 2 world wars. We did nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you smack that nonsense with history. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, and not even just history, even just recent times. You know what I'm saying? So it's basically the inmates, running the asylum. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to these tropes, these one-liners. You know what I'm saying? Of black women not being protected, or black women, being the most oppressed, person on the planet Earth. You know what I'm saying?
So
Like,
you disagreeing with Malcolm right now?
no. So when Malcolm said that, you know what I'm saying, he said that within a time frame, and also within, there was context to what he was saying. You know what I'm saying? And not saying what he was saying was wrong. You know what I'm saying? But these people take this thing from Malcolm and take it all out of context. You know what I'm saying? There's no nuance to what it is. It's just that's what it is. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So, and I don't just push back that. I smashed that with a sledgehammer. You know what I'm saying? Because
So,
it 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 it's disrespectful to our ancestors who were black men who put their life on the line, who actually died. You know what I'm saying, for community. You know what I'm saying? So I understand the situation that we're in today. You know what I'm saying? But again, there are black men who, case in point, remember that situation where I think it was somewhere in the Midwest or Chicago where sisters were disrespected by a shopkeeper,
Right.
and there were brothers protesting, you know what I'm saying, to close the shop down.
Right.
Yo, the next day there was sisters basically arguing with these black male protesters because they wanted to go buy some hair.
right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So what are we
Hmm.
talking about?
Well, it's so the biggest context when you hear Malcolm X give those speeches, the context, the the overriding context that you always have to understand is that black adult males only make up 3% of the population. So that protection or that lack of protection is contextualized within the realm of a white oppressive society that's tearing us down. And so
Exactly.
black women are unprotected in that manner, but it's not at the fault or it's not laid at the feet of black men. Now,
Right.
what feminists did, this is where that comes in because this answers your question. What feminists did was they didn't sell them on the idea of women being equal. They sold black feminists on the idea of being victims of inequality. So you're like me. So white women have a legitimate gripe against white men.
Right.
White men done screwed them over even by taking their last name and making themselves property to the point that women freely give themselves as property,
Right.
taking on a dude's last name. Like that's crazy to me. Now, if you're doing it because you got a messed up last name and you don't like some like, but for the most part, they freely do it because it's it's a signal that I'm his property. So, so what feminists did was they sold black women on victimhood and inequality, and so now the idea of them having or the idea of them being equal in pain and suffering to black men, they can't fathom that because they're victims. They're consummate victims. So if that's the lens that you're looking through, then you hear that black women are the most unprotected people on the planet, and you automatically look to your black male counterpart because obviously he ain't a victim like me.
Hmm.
Obviously he's not.
Right.
So I'm the victim, and
He's the
and because
victimizer.
I'm the feminist, he's my victimizer. When black men don't control no jobs, we don't control corporate America. We ain't beating women left and right. We ain't divorcing women left and right. We out of statistically in every category, we lead in being intact, at home, involved fathers, whether we're in the house or outside the house. So all of these
Right.
tropes and narratives are false, but if I am a victim in inequality. And so this is why we as black men, we really have to study we can't listen to people tell us about feminism. We have to look at the data points ourselves. This ain't anything I learned in college or a class. This is me sitting back and studying myself. Like, why do black women have an issue with black men? So now I'm looking at, I'm hearing all the speeches. I'm reading the speeches. I'm going back. I'm listening to Shirley Chisholm and all these feminists and stuff and how their dialogue changed and all that and where it went. What did they say? Oh, they didn't sell them on feminism. They sold them on victimhood.
Right.
We're equal victims, sister. And so the that's where black women have gone wrong today, and it's led them down this path of of I mean, I can't even call it, but the backdrop or the understanding of that or that context that Fahim is talking about is that black males make up 3% of the population. So black adult males. So realistically, what can we change? I don't care whether you vote. I don't care if we pick up arms and try to fight the government. What can we do? You know, the only thing we can do is try to create our own enclaves, try to marry other black American women, try to create our own enclaves, build business, build economies, and look to successful peoples that did that, like the Jewish community, you know, like the Asian community. You know, maybe we don't have the same leg up or whatever that they did, but part of what we constantly deal with is I want mine now when you ain't getting it now. Set your grandchild up.
Right.
Put them in
You
another
know,
position.
to go to your point, Doc, like we did build enclaves. They just tore it down.
They tore it down. They tore down, and then part of it we tore down ourselves because we were sold on the idea of taking on debt and credit. So we left the South where we owned and had businesses and ownership, and we went up to the North to get a job. You know, everybody wanted their own house. We didn't want to live two families in a house. We didn't want grandma in the house with us. We wanted to remove ourselves from family and social responsibility. And so everyone, you know, you went to the Midwest, you went to, you know, California, you went up north, Detroit, New York, you know, Jersey, all these places, and took these jobs on to where we were low class workers. But you know what we could do? We could drive a Cadillac and we could pay a house note. So these are part of the things that took away from how we were able to build, which is, you know, this is another sidebar. This is my argument with all these people that are unskilled labor demanding these high wages. When you want to live by yourself, you're complaining about your apartment was from 450 a month to 1,500 a month, but you don't want to take on a roommate, and you didn't do anything to make yourself other than unskilled labor. So it's this victim mentality, like, oh, you gotta take care of me. I'm the victim. Like, I don't have to do nothing except just do the very basics. And this is what women are falling back on. I don't have to do nothing but do the very basic. Give you some sex,
Yes.
and then that's it. Everything else is your responsibility. If we can't pay the bills, it's your fault because you're the man. If our kids mess up, it's your fault because you're the man or you're not in the household. If I can't get my nails done, I can't stand him. I can't get my nails done. It's your so this is it's the victimhood aspect of feminism that's keeping black men and black women apart. It's not the women want to be equal thing. We don't be oppressing women like that. You got a couple of fools that might hit somebody in the head, but every black man I know beat a dude's ass if he know he beating on a woman. Like, it ain't no question that we gonna come to the woman's defense. Even if it ain't a black woman, even if it's a white, even if it's a Karen, we ain't just gonna let nobody jump on no woman's head and beat her. So they don't have no issue with black men when it comes to inequality, but they but they put it on us because we stand in the stead of white males. You know, so it's a which goes back to my original statement of